Hey, everybody. Glad to have everybody here. Thank you so much for coming. You'll see we're waiting on Zach to join here still real quick. So it's me and Elise.
And Joy.
Elise, Zach just asked for the link again if you had emailed it to him.
Yes. Let me send it to him. Or Josh, you can, if you see him. Oh, it's in. He texted you.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get started with Zach here shortly.
Everybody leave where they're logging in from. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Where is everyone calling in from? And I would also love to know, in addition, where you're from, what type of investing you're doing as investors. Having that background, I think, helps us a lot. Make sure we're talking about the things that are most helpful for you. North Carolina, I see there. I'm in Raleigh myself.
Indianapolis. We also have Joy on here who's going to be in chat. You guys have probably talked to her at some point or another. So excited.
A couple of Kansas cities. I'm from St. Louis originally. Spent a decent amount of time in KC as well. I'm a Mizzou grad. Hopefully you're not a Kansas fan, but I understand if you are. We all have to have our own problems.
Okay, I just forwarded him mine. So, because I'm not logged into yours anymore. So just so you know.
Okay.
If anything, you can have him come in here and then promote him.
St. Louis. I see Jay there. Or Dan. Dan, I think we've spoken before. Is that?
Man, look at all the people. Love it.
No sales. What wants to wholesale rentals? Interested in finding, wholesaling, and flipping deals. Wholesaling from Zack there. Elise, Zack said he's still not seeing it.
I'm sending it to his D for D Mastery email. That's the only email I have. Fix and flip, buy and hold, new at wholesaling. Love it.
Zack at D4D Mastery, dfdmastery.com.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
I will see if I can send it myself too, just as a fun, just in case you're having some.
Hey guys, wholesale fix and flip. Love it, love it. I'd love to hear also trying to learn to use your app. Awesome.
Excellent. We'll do a full demo at the end and make sure you step away from this with all the details you need to get started.
We also have a bunch of trainings. Joy can pop in the link here. Actually, I have it right now, Joy. So this is our training site. You guys can definitely go to. We have a bunch of new trainings. So we have an overview if you're just getting started with DealMachine to figure out what plans will be work best for you. And then also we have ones on just driving for dollars, wholesaling, SMS marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. It's a free version of the app, not show the map anymore. It might have been the trial, Francisco. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, Francisco, there might have been trial. The map is never available on the app on mobile. On desktop, the map should still be visible, but you're not able to add properties anymore from it. Oh, Zach's here. Look at that. All the web-based versions of the map are all part of the Driving for Dollars software that we have now. So you have to have one of those plan tiers to have access to that.
So sorry for the Zach. I was sending it to one, so I'm glad we got you on here. I apologize for that.
No worries. I'm sorry that I'm a little late. I was having a hard time getting in. I don't know why.
No worries. We're all here now. We're ready to go, ready to make it happen. So I'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who attend this regularly, obviously I'm a slightly newer face than David. David had some important things to do tonight, so I'm stepping in for him. Appreciate everybody being here. My name's Joshua Johnson. I run the enterprise side of the DealMachine business, specifically on the sales side. And so typically me and my team are helping people figure out which plan tiers of DealMachine make the most sense for where they're at in their investment business and in their journey, and helping them to get them started with which one that is. And so Zack and I, just to give you a little background, Zack and I think first met almost like 2.5, 3 years ago now, I want to say. Literally, I had a public link to my calendar, and Zack scheduled a meeting, I think, for like 7 minutes later on my calendar. And then we jumped on a call and chatted, and Zack had already built a decent part of his business from driving for dollars, had a lot of success, and was starting his journey to kind of get to where he is today as like a really elite level coach on how to build a wholesaling business through the driving for dollars process. And so we've known each other for a while now, and have been able to work with each other for a while now and grow our businesses together too. And so we're excited to have him here today, talk about D4D Mastery, tell his story, and then just open it up to Q&A after that, and then get everyone on the call the questions that they need answered so that they can continue on in their success. So Zack, take it away. Tell us about yourself and what you're up to.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah. So one thing that I just want to say before I kind of give people a story of where I came from and why I'm here on this call tonight. I just recently did a challenge with DealMachine being a major part of what I was using. I wanted to show people what it took to start in real estate investing from scratch. So I took $1,000. I flew to a whole new market, so I don't have my normal connections. I went to Tampa, Florida, and the goal was to turn that $1,000 into 40 grand in 40 days. It's all free content. It's all being shared on my YouTube channel. I think we've got day like 16 or 15 uploaded today. We're doing 2 episodes a week. So guys, make sure you check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. But yeah, about me. So I started off my entrepreneurial journey as a window washer, actually. And it wasn't the most exciting business. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do forever. I did okay. I mean, from the outside looking in, I was doing better than I really was. I had 3 trucks and a bunch of employees, but I wanted to do more. I was living paycheck to paycheck for the most part. Had some debts. It was pretty tough. And I learned about real estate wholesaling. And it took me a couple of years. It took me multiple coaches, more than one coach, to figure it out. It was not an easy thing to figure out for me. I definitely not the smartest cookie. And so for me, it was a struggle, but I ended up doing my first deal, my first wholesale deal. I made $10,000 on that deal back in 2017. And I after that first year, I made about 100,000, but I really struggled to find deals the next 2 months. So what had happened is I was doing deals off of marketing to an eviction and to a code violation list within my market here. And the cities got together and said, hey, let's post these public lists and public information on a state website. And it became available to everyone. So it really shut down my business. So I had walked away from window cleaning. It was my only income. I had, I have kids and a wife and mortgage and all this stuff. And so I was like, crap, what do I do? And that's when I started driving for dollars. And I didn't find DealMachine immediately. Were you guys even up and running back in the beginning of 2017?
It was like maybe you were a couple months before we even launched. Yeah, we were, I believe, like right around June of 2017 was the public version 1 of DealMachine.
Love it. So what I ended up doing is having to drive around, write down the addresses and look them up on county records. It was taking forever to build a list, but I was still making money. And then I got a driving app later on. And, by the end of that year, that first year driving for dollars, we did just shy of $500,000. And I was super excited by that. That was life-changing money. It was a lot in comparison to washing windows. And I didn't know I didn't know how to, scale it beyond that. The next year I had set a goal of $1 million. I didn't know how I was going to do more than what I had already had. And I read a self-help journal. Their first 100 pages is all about building 3 big goals for the year. And then the rest of the journal, you keep track of what you're working on towards achieving those 3 big goals. And the one big goal I had made was to make $1 million. And in that first 100 pages, it talks about the importance of giving away whatever you wanted to receive. So I knew I had to give away $1 million. I didn't know how to do that because I didn't have the $1 million. So what I started doing instead was teaching my marketing system to other people. I brought 10 people on originally to teach them that system, and started having a massive amount of success teaching my students. My students had, one of my first students, he made 113 grand on his first wholesale deal with the Drive for Dollar system. And you guys know him, Scott Dallinger. And, Michael McLeish in the first 6 months made like 300 grand. It was just crazy. And I was so fulfilled by it that I needed to do more. I got such a high from helping my students that I kind of fell into coaching accidentally, and now I love it. Now I go do the 40-day challenge because that's what I want to do. I left my house I left the first part of April, ended up leaving, had family emergencies, ended up stranded in Brazil with COVID. Like, it was a crazy adventure. The first quarter of this year, I haven't even really been home. I've just been out creating content and helping people. But I love it. I'm so grateful that it put me on this journey, and driving for dollars is truly what opened up the doors for me to be successful. And DealMachine, I've partnered with DealMachine, and I don't own any of it. The only thing that I do is promote it because it makes me a ton of money. It makes my students money. And so, that's why I am a fan and why I do these kinds of things.
Awesome. So awesome. And yeah, so the 40K and 40-day challenge, you started that in January, or was it February that began?
I think it was around the mid-January is when it officially started.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact start date, but I flew out here. What's that?
Any spoilers that you can share maybe while you're on day 16 here on the public?
Well, I'll just say I ended with 7 total contracts.
Okay.
And the craziest thing is, at day 27, I had a family emergency and I had to jump on a plane to go to Brazil. So I had to finish off the challenge in a foreign country. So I got 5 while I was there in the 27 days. And then I got 2 while I was in Brazil. And I'll just tell you, one of the deals when I was in Brazil, we closed on it today. So it took us a little longer to close on it. We closed on it today for $53,000 assignment. One that I got while I was in Brazil. So I did very well, right? And my team did a fantastic job capturing it and putting it out there. Anyone watched any of those episodes? You could chime in and say what you think of it. Maybe people are like, it's garbage. I don't know, but I'm very proud of it. The reason I did this is I was a major skeptic. Right. I was like, man, you can't buy properties 50 cents on the dollar. You can't get massive discounted properties. And if you do, you're taking advantage of people. I used to think that. And then I was washing windows for this super wealthy gentleman. His name was Stan Nielsen. And I got talking to him. He's a real estate developer, very wealthy. And I got talking to him. He's like 80 years old. I talked to him for a couple hours because I just wanted to know more. It's back when I was trying to learn how to get started. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, well, I'd like to pick up 2 rentals this year. And he handed me over 2 properties, seller finance, couple $1,000s down, massive discount. I made over $100,000 profit the next year selling them after I kept them as rentals. And so when that happened, it took me from being a skeptic to, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out how to consistently find discounted properties. So I was up late one night thinking, like, how do I show people that it's possible? How do I take those skeptics, that are skeptics for a good reason, right? That, like, how many people have you heard say, oh, if it sounds too good to be true, it is, right? And honestly, wholesaling is too good to be true. It's amazing. Not only you can get massive amounts of cash just as wholesale, but you can cherry pick the best ones and build net worth. And I just interviewed Michael Brown today for my podcast. And he's picked up 3 properties in the last 2 months. Each one of those properties, he's going to keep 2 as rentals and 1 as a primary residence. Each one of those, he's got well over $100,000 in equity.
Wow.
He's going to be cash flowing like $4,000 a month off the 2 rentals after paying all of his expenses. It's like, it's too good to be true, right? So it's like, well, how do I show people that it is true and it is as good as it sounds, but also show them that it's hard work. It's not easy. It doesn't come free. You know, it's like, how do I show them Stan Nielsen's experience? And it's like, well, why don't I go do it? Like, why don't I go give them an over the shoulder look so they can see that it takes work, it takes effort, but you also have a ton of potential and you can meet amazing people. So day 4 of the challenge, I was cold calling. I got the wrong phone number. I got the wrong house. And the guy I talked to, his name's Jerry. And Jerry, Jerry, he's like, yeah, honey, what property is it? Because when I told him the address, I was like, do you own the property XYZ address? And he turned to his wife, honey, do we own that property? And I'm like, oh, this dude owns a lot of properties, right? So I was like, I don't even care which property. Let's see if he wants to sell any of them. So I was like, hey, do you have any others you'd like to sell if you don't want to sell that one? He's like, actually, I have a couple I'd like to sell. I went and met him that night and we signed 3 contracts. And, you know, come to find out he's very sick with cancer and he has a bunch of properties. He's assumed mortgages in his life. He's done, you know, everything under the sun. He's the wholesaler before wholesaling was a thing. Mm-hmm. You know, I loved hearing his stories. He was my Stan Nielsen that I wanted to show the world. You know, I met him day 4. We got 3 contracts. I don't want to spoil everything. We're going to make well over $100,000 on those 3 deals. Right. I had him on my podcast. I interviewed him today as well. But I interviewed him and heard his stories, and he was okay walking away from some money for the convenience factor because he didn't want to deal with those 3 properties anymore because they were far away from where he was. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, you know, just so grateful that I've learned what I've learned and I've had the experience that I've had. And my goal is to show other people what's possible, because I totally believe there's more success than people realize. And there's an abundance to go around for everybody.
Absolutely. I love it. And I'll say this, and we're going to get questions here just in a minute. My favorite part of all of that is showing the work that goes into it, because it is the opportunities there to make massive amounts of, like you said, cash, equity, long-term, like financial stability, whatever you're looking for. But the work that goes into it that's where the too good to be true part is. It just happens overnight without you doing anything. In reality, it's a consistent process that if you follow, it will work, but it takes a large amount of work and effort. It's not easy. And there's going to be hard times and hard conversations, problems to figure out. But that's what honestly, when you first told me like a few months ago that you were going to start the 40K and 40-day challenge, that's what I found really, really interesting and cool about that is, here's just what it takes from the get-go to make this happen for yourself, wherever you are. And so I loved that. And I'm excited to continue following it and see where day 40. And then I'm probably like a few months down the road, you'll do like here's where we're at today type thing too. So that's awesome. Let's switch it up to some questions. Elise, is there anyone in particular that we wanted to bring on and ask a question here of Zack?
Someone asked if I'm from Brazil. I'll answer that one. I'm not. I actually served a Christian mission in Brazil when I was a young man. I lived there for 2 years, so I speak fluent Portuguese, and I actually met my wife there. So my wife is originally from Brazil. I love my Latino people. I love them to death. I love the culture. I have more Latinos working with me and for me than Americans. So one of my favorite companions that I met is actually my right-hand man, Miguel. So he works for my wholesaling business, but yeah, so her family's in Brazil. She was down there visiting them. That's why I ended up down there, because my father-in-law was hospitalized and they all got COVID, and it was pretty scary. So, but he's better. He's home. So yeah, that was very scary though. He was there for a couple of weeks. We weren't sure if he was going to make it. And the worst part, I don't know if that's how it works here, but when you get put in the ICU units down there with COVID, you can't have your cell phone. And so the doctor calls you once a day and gives you an update. So you're just sitting there on pins and needles, not even knowing if he's going to die or not. Like, it's the worst thing. So Yeah, that's why I was there. It's pretty scary.
That's crazy.
I'm glad he's doing better.
Yeah, that's.
We are too. Thank you.
All right, we have Stacy here. Stacy, can you unmute and turn on your camera?
Yeah, and heads up, if we bring you on for a question, if would love to get your video up there just so we can see you and ask the questions.
There she is.
Sorry about that. I wasn't ready for that. Hello.
Yeah, it's a little left.
I have a 1.5-year-old that I've been chasing around while I listen to you guys. So sorry about that. Yeah. So we're just getting into like fix and flips. My husband sells real estate, and then we want to do some wholesaling too. So we want to get the marketing pipeline going.
Yeah.
We're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know this is all across the whole country. The market is really hot. People know their houses are worth money. So I guess my question is more around like, how do you position things? Definitely we're like problem solvers, right? So if we can help people solve a problem, get them some quick cash, great. But are there other things like, I don't know, negotiation tips or just different things that you've tried since the market maybe has shifted a bit since, like, obviously 2008 was way opposite of that.
Yeah. Great question. I have found the first thing and the most important thing with negotiations is setting expectations, right? So for example, if you watch day 4 of the challenge, so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. When I call Jerry, right? You hear me say to him on the cold call, well, you might actually be able to make more money if you list it, right? And go through the hassle listing it. I mean, I can have you done quickly and pay cash, but why don't you just list it with an agent? So I label options. You can say that. You can say, well, why don't you just keep it as a rental? Well, why don't you just turn it into a rental, right? Why don't you fix it up and list it with an agent? You explain options to people. And sometimes they're going to say, yeah, that's probably what I want to do. I definitely don't want to sell it to an investor. I want to list it myself and squeeze every penny out of the deal. If that's the case, then let them do that. Refer it to an agent, right? Like that's what's best for that person. And a lot of people are afraid to say those kinds of things because they think they're going to screw up a deal. Well, if you say those things and they want to work with an agent, it never was a deal in the first place, right? Remember, we need to work with utmost integrity, right? We're not selling ice to Eskimos, right? That whole concept of being a good salesman and convincing people to do something they don't want to do, that's not cool. That's not good. I don't believe in that. I think that that's a bunch of crap. But what happens is if you find the right person and you say that, they say things like, I don't care. I just want to be done. Right? Just like Jerry says it, it's recorded. He's like, I don't care. I don't want to list it. I want it done now. And he gives me a super low price over the phone. He knows what they're worth. I show up and his wife's mad at him for giving me such a low price and she doesn't want to sign. And so I had to build a relationship and we came up a tiny bit in price. We went from $55,000 a property to $61,000 a property or $60,000 a property. And I still made a lot. They're worth like 100 to 110 as is, perfect condition, right? So the biggest thing is just finding someone that you're serving by having it fast and convenient and a cash offer, right? So that's the first and foremost thing. The other big mistake that I see people make is once they do find someone that wants to work with an investor, they just throw a number at them and they say, okay, call me when you're ready to sign papers, or I'll keep calling you every day till you sign the papers. But as soon as you give someone a hard number, they have the control. They say, oh, okay, I'll sleep on it. And they call the other postcard that they got and get another offer. And they tell them your offer and someone will pay $5,000 more than you offered. And you missed out on the deal because a couple $1,000, right? Even though you're gonna make 20, 30. So don't give an actual number. If they want a number from you, I give them a range, a big range, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 range. I'll probably be able to pay in between this much and this much. Could we work together in that range? And then you go back and forth within that range, right? And I only give them a range if they won't give me a low number or work with me. If they give me a number, but it's high, I give them a range below that still makes sense for me. And you go back and forth. I just had a student, Adam Stevens, here in Utah, just talking to him. He did the exact same thing. He had a duplex. They wanted $700,000. We're an extremely inflated market right now, everywhere across the country, right? This duplex 4 years ago was worth $300,000. He's wanting $700,000, which is the ARV, after repair value. And I gave him a range. I said, give him a range between 400 and 450. And he locked it up today at 450. So giving a range works. You know, he told him 700 over the phone, but he understood that he didn't want to list it. He wanted it done in 2 weeks. He wants to get out of the state. He doesn't want to deal with it. It's beat up. It's run down. You know, there's a homeless guy living with him. You know, it's a bad situation, right? So those are my tips on negotiations.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, Stacey, and great answers. I like a couple really good tips in there. Anyone next, Elise, that we want to bring up?
Yep, we got Tyler on here. I just tend to surprise people when I pull them up. Just there. So yes.
Guys.
Hey, I know this guy.
Yeah, you do.
What's up, Tyler?
Not much. How are you, buddy?
Good. What are you doing?
Well, I am sitting in Augusta, Georgia, at a little bar. We're on a trip, and so I knew that you were doing this, and I had a question, so I figured I'd hop on and see if I get it answered.
Okay, Tyler's one of my students. That's why I know him. What do you need, brother?
Okay, so I got a new driver, right? And he's got a zip code that I'm sending him to that's not nearby. The first few zip codes have been around him. He's working in between jobs. He's only got, 2 hours, 4 hours here or there, And now he's saying, okay, this zip code is like 30 to 45 minutes away. Can I get paid extra? So how do you do the pay structure when you're sending them the zip codes? Do you pay them only when they're driving, or do you pay them like from the time they're starting to get to where you're asking them to drive?
I normally just pay people there to the location and back from the location because it's chump change in comparison to how much money I make on top. Right?
Okay,
I pay my drivers a lot. I pay them 15 to 20 bucks an hour, and I'm okay paying them an extra 20 bucks to drive to location. But I have conversations with them like, hey, I need my 2,000 addresses this week. I need my 1,000, whatever your goal is.
Yeah.
Make it happen. And then if they hit their goal, I throw them an extra 40 bucks, that week to cover their gas. And then I throw them an extra 100 bucks if we close a deal and say thank you, and treat your people good. But keep in mind in your market, Tyler, you should be making anywhere between 15 to an average of $10,000 to $20,000 off of every 2,000 addresses you add. So, that's only going to take them how many hours to add those properties? It's going to take 10 to 20 hours to add that many properties. So you're going to be paying them 200 bucks to, 400 bucks tops to go add those properties for you to make 10 to 20 grand. That's a pretty good deal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to set the precedent right. And before I responded to him, I wanted to get your opinion. So
just make sure you set the expectations, and I would show him that you want him to make a lot of money and you want him to feel like it's completely fair. So you're happy to pay him there and back, but tell him how important it is for him to get the right types of properties and to follow the criteria, because your business and the success of your business depends upon the quality of those addresses being added. So make sure you put that pressure on him, and how he understands that, your whole team is going to be dependent upon him doing a good job, right? Put that social pressure on him.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Appreciate it, man.
Good to see you. See you in a few days.
All right, you too.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tyler. Good question. Driver management, choosing the right drivers, coaching them up is definitely a huge, huge part of this, especially as you get past the point where you can't do the driving yourself. When you're in deals, you're talking to sellers, you're talking to buyers, you get past the point. And if you follow Zack's process pretty rapidly, you start to have success where you're like, I can't hustle on the streets anymore because I'm working deals and I'm focused on the bottom of the pipeline, not the top anymore. And so I love that question and answer, because driver management, recruitment, payment structures are all really important things to the overall model of building a driving for dollars based business. Any other good next potential?
I love this comment. I'm just going to read it because I think it's funny. How to realtor tell me that wholesaling isn't something that works and makes money?
Realtors probably. I made $100,000 on a house.
So funny.
All right, we have Krista up. Krista, can you hear us?
Yes, I can now. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine.
Great.
Hi.
So I am in the Tampa St. Pete market, and I watched your videos, and they were amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. So my fiance and I started our wholesale business in October, and I got jump started around December, looking into more on market and trying to figure it out that way.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with realtors, and yes, they are tough group of people actually because everything's inflated right now.
Yeah.
And I had a few houses under contract, and they didn't work out because the market's too inflated. And immediately, right when even if I did have an okay deal, buyers were not even looking at it because it was on market.
Yeah.
So I had to cancel, get my EMD back, and all that. So my
Now,
question is,
all right, go ahead. Ask your question.
okay. So I'm gonna, I just went driver for dollars yesterday in a pretty prime neighborhood, historic Kenwood and St. Pete. So I'm gonna get on the phone with them probably tomorrow. I'm gonna try to set everything up with the call structure that you did on the YouTube channel and everything. But I have a realtor come back to me since a month ago, and their market is back on market. It's a very distressed home, but the seller needs to short sale it. And I'm not sure how to wholesale that because I know on market's kind of inflated and it's not worth what it is supposed to be. But could you give any option on that? Or
Yeah. So in this current market, in this current situation, properties, once they hit the MLS, I don't even look at them.
yeah.
Right? I just don't, because all of your buyers are already seeing it. And if it doesn't sell and go under, because an average days on market right now is like 30 days. What that means is they're go under contract on average within the first day of going on the MLS, right? Like properties are moving. And the only reason they don't move is either because it's got a ton of judgments, liens, things that make it so it can't close. And they're wanting to do a short sale because that's the situation. Someone owes more than it's worth.
Right.
And in this current market, the banks are not really approving short sales for the most part, right? And the reason being, what a short sale is, everyone listening in that's not familiar, is someone owes more than it's worth, right? Whether they get judgments or liens or whatever else, and they're asking for the bank to take a hit let's say they owe the bank 100,000. They're asking the bank to take 80,000 and then walk away with not going after that extra 20,000, right? The bank's taking the short on the money. And the banks in this current market aren't okay with that because everything is selling so fast, they can put it up on auction and it'll sell for almost full retail at the auctions after they foreclose. So it just doesn't make sense for the banks. But back in 2009, 10, 11, you had a lot of short sales. If you look on Zillow, it's like short sale, like half the properties for sale were short sales because there were so many people upside down and the banks were willing to negotiate, right? Because many of them were on the verge of bankruptcy and they're just trying to get as much money as they possibly can, right? So with that being said, in this current market, once they hit the MLS, I'm not interested at all. The only agent deals that I've done is when an agent brings me a distressed property and want a quick sale, and they bring it directly to me, right? They call that a pocket listing. The agent signed a listing agreement with the seller, but they haven't posted it on the MLS. I get kind of like a backdoor deal because I know the agent or because the agent knows that I can perform, right? So that's the only time I necessarily work with agents. My advice to you is to focus on finding off-market discounted properties and do what you're about to do, which is driving, cold calling, following those steps. One thing that's very important as well, Krista, is once you do get a discounted property, you're going to need a cash buyers list. So make sure you have cash buyers. If you find a deal, I have 11,000 cash buyers now in Tampa that I was able to put together while I was there. And I have boots on the ground. We're still doing deals in Tampa. I basically opened up a new part of my business while I was there. So if you need help on a deal, if you get a lead, just reach out to me, send me a private message. We'll take care of you. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. Congratulations on taking action. I love it. That makes me so happy to hear that someone watched the content and was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go get to work. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I just realized I was muted. Great question. Short sales are always an interesting game, and like you said, Zach, they're tough to come by in this market. And but if we start to see a downturn, a year and a half, 2 years down the road, it's kind of tough to know what's going to happen. But you need to have knowledge about how to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, they do exist. Michael Brown was actually talking about my student in Louisville, Kentucky, was talking about somewhat of a short sale. It wasn't a traditional mortgage. It was a different type of mortgage. I think it was a HELOC is what he said, but they owed like 40,000 on it on this rundown house. ARV is like 150. He was able to negotiate it down with the bank from 40 to 7,500 bucks.
Wow.
And that's what he got the house for, 7,500 bucks, ARV 150. Of course, kept it for himself, because who doesn't want a house for 7,500 bucks? He said he's gonna put $5,000 into it and rent it for 1,200 a month. So that's not bad.
That's awesome. So the one thing I'll say too about the biggest value that we bring to sellers frequently, yes, it's speed of the deal frequently. Sometimes it's figuring out a tough situation. Like a lot of buyers or even potential other wholesalers aren't willing to figure that problem. It is a problem solving game. And when it's like getting a bank involved, like figuring out how to justify those short sales of the bank, sellers don't have that knowledge frequently to figure out that problem. And so a lot of times you can pick up equity in a deal because you're solving the problem that exists. And so it's a great example of that in particular, I think.
Yeah. One example of that from the 40-day challenge. So Jerry sold me 3 properties. One of those properties, so 2 of them I kept, one of them I wholesaled. And I found a buyer who was actually a student, which was kind of funny. I didn't expect that. But he bought the property from me, paid me $15,000 assignment fee. But there was a contingency. He wanted the tenants out, because when we showed up to inspect the property, the tenants had like invited all their homeless friends to come live on their property. There was like a tarp with like a TV under it, and dude living under the tarp in the backyard. And it was a mess, right? But he wanted them evicted. So we had to go through the process, getting the tenants out, getting the homeless people out of there. And then on top of that, we found out that it was kind of like a private road for these 6 trailer homes. And, our trailer home was there at the very back. And so it showed that there was a private road and we didn't have legal access forever, right? I mean, we could drive on it, but it didn't show on the plat map that we had right of way to get to that back lot. So we had to hire a surveyor and get the plat map changed, right? We had to go, I didn't know how to do that. I've never done that before. That was fun. So I had to learn how to do that and solve that problem. But that's why Jerry wanted to work with me, right? Because he knew I'd solve those problems. I built a relationship with him. He trusted me, and he gave them to me at a discount so I could deal with them and get him out of his hair, right? So that's exactly the kinds of things that Josh is talking about, solving those kinds of problems.
That's awesome. I love that example. And again, I'm super excited the fact you documented all of this. Like, it's really, really cool. Lewis, we just brought you in. You want to unmute and bring your video up? I'd love to get your question. Looks like you unmuted. No, oh, there you are. Oh, we can't hear you still. It looks like you're unmuted. I don't know if you've.
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha now. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just real quick. I'm thinking about pulling the trigger on that level 3 program you got, but I'm not real sure that the budget's going to be able to allow for paying hourly on drivers. So I'm thinking about coming out, paying commission just to start out. Is this still effective with the enterprise program doing that?
Zach, I love your Zach's input on this, because I've seen.
And also, Zach, what program did you start out with? Did you start out with level 1, basic, pro, or enterprise? And that's all I got.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the pay structure for your drivers. My suggestion is, like, I love that you're asking, how can I, not I can't because, right? Robert Kiyosaki always talks about how important it is for us to say, how can I afford something, and not say I can't afford it. So when you're thinking, okay, I can't afford to pay an hourly wage for a driver, but how do I get a driver out there doing work? And you're thinking, well, I can pay straight commissions, right? And I love that, because that's how I started too, especially because we started before we had DealMachine and we had to write down the addresses. It took forever, right? I couldn't do it all myself. And we started out paying 20% commissions. And we did that for 6 months, but that ended up being very expensive. Because what I ended up finding out, if I would have paid those drivers $20 an hour plus gas, plus $100 per deal, I overpaid those drivers in the first 6 months by $70,000. So,
dude, good heads up.
Yeah, it adds up fast. 20%'s a chunk,
Dude,
right?
thanks. Yeah, thanks for your hindsight. That's critical. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Okay,
So my suggestion is work your butt off, do your driving yourself in the beginning, hire the neighbor kid, talk your wife into it, whatever you got to do, right? Con some poor, child of yours into going out and doing it, right? And my suggestion is, because you don't need a ton of time driving, right? A lot of people think you need to spend 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week to do this. That's not true at all. If you're tagging properties with any physical signs of neglect like I do, you could be adding 100 properties an hour, easy, right? And set a goal of like, okay, I'm going to drive 3 hours this week, 5 hours this week, try and get 200 to 500 addresses a week and market to those. Once you pull a deal, you can afford to pay for a driver hourly, right? So you don't, if you watch the 40-day challenge, you'll see that I'm driving cold calling, right? Going on appointments, driving on my way back. I really think you're better off just doing it yourself in the beginning than paying someone commissions. The other problem with commissions, brother, is you don't have a lot of consistency. I'd have someone go out and add a couple hundred properties and I wouldn't get any more from them. And then we pop a deal out of those 200, luckily, right? They get a chunk of change. I'm like, but they wouldn't drive again. They're like, oh, thanks for the $9,000. Thanks for the $5,000.
Oh, yeah.
So you wouldn't get consistency. There wasn't but when you charge someone hourly and you're like, hey, I expect you to drive 10 hours this week. And I expect at least 500 to 600 addresses from that, right? Because the most important thing in a wholesaling business and an investment business is marketing. This business is marketing. Our product is real estate, right? I don't care if you want to wholesale, if you want to flip, if you want to buy and hold. I don't care what your strategy is, but you can't do any of those things without leads, and you can't do that without addresses, right? You can't do that without marketing. And so having consistency is more important than how much you're paying your drivers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I'm getting ready to pull the trigger on the enterprise, because we just closed one that we ended up having to go the affidavit route on. But everybody I've ever trained under, they all talk about driving for dollars is where all the best leads are at, with least competition and best price spread. So I just was curious. So okay, that's key information, dude. Thank you so much for that hindsight. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Lewis. It's a great question. And I'll just double down and reiterate the same thing. I've now had the conversation of how to pay drivers thousands of times with a lot of our members over time. And it always comes down to like, hey, it's an opportunity cost of time spent re-recruiting drivers, getting them motivated to get consistency, where you're going to spend your time somehow. You might as well just spend it driving if you're going to try to, in my experience, just spend it driving, as opposed to like finding drivers that get motivated for a week and then disappear on you. And then again, I love that Zach brought up the financial side of the example. Is like, it feels like you're not paying for it up front because you're getting paid in the commission, but you have to pay a high enough commission to make it justifiable for their time. And then the dollars just add up real quick on the back end, where you're like, oh my gosh, if I had just put $1,000 towards this for drivers at $20 an hour, I'm staring at 10, 15 deals potentially, instead of just paying 3,000 or 4,000 of my wholesale fee or something like that.
Yeah, my hourly driving expense is about 2% of my gross revenue. No one's going to drive for you at a 2% commission,
Yeah,
right? Like,
because
I
there's
pay good, about 20 an hour.
Understood. Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Louis, I'll say to you, I don't know if you've spoken with anyone on our team. I think you were on our training call the other day, but make sure to reach out to us. Happy to help you figure out if enterprise right away makes sense, or if maybe it's another plan for a little while first. Any other questions that
Yeah.
Elise ready to go?
Yeah, we have oh my gosh,
Alicia.
Alicia, and I should know this. My name's Elise. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to botch it.
That's okay. The question that I had was, do wholesalers have to pay taxes on the money that they make? And if so, like, how do y'all go about that? Like, how do we go about paying taxes on all the money that we make from wholesaling?
Right. Yeah, we got to pay taxes, man. I wish the answer was different. You know, it would just be great if I didn't have to pay my taxes. Everyone's getting all these checks from stimulus checks. I'm like, where's my check? You know, where's my check? One of the funny things, the way the taxes work in our country is the more money you make, the less benefits you get, and the more you have to pay. So, that's one of the things you deal with, but the way there are ways to structure paying less legally. The nice part about having your own business, you can write off a lot of things as far as expenses, which you don't have to pay taxes on things that are expensed out of your business, right? So I get to write off my computer, my internet service. If you're running a home office, you can write off those things, mileage. So I do have a bunch of write-offs. The other structure that I have is my company is structured as an LLC taxed as an S Corp. And I'll explain why. So I consider myself an employee to my company. Fast Home Buyers Now is my company, okay? And I get a paycheck, a set salary every single month, and I'm a W-2 employee, meaning I get taxes taken out of my paycheck, and I have an accounting firm do that for me. The rest of my money that I pay myself, all the profits out of the company, I pay myself as a dividend. So if you're in the highest tax bracket as earned income, it's about 40%. But dividend income at its highest tax bracket is 20%. So I save myself 20% in taxes by paying myself that way. But for everyone listening to this, make sure you're focusing on generating leads and getting money coming in. Worry about your LLCs, worry about your tax strategies, worry about your business logos and your t-shirts and your websites later. I made well over $1 million before I worried about any of those things, right? Because none of those other things matter until you have deals coming in.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd recommend reading a book called Profit First as well when you get a chance. It brushes on how to manage income, how to manage your taxes in a way that appropriately puts the leads first and your results first, but then just make sure you're accommodating the tax budget at the end of the year too.
Another cool tax book, guys, is called Real Estate Loopholes. It's from the Rich Dad Company. So it's another Robert Kiyosaki co-authored book. But that one's really good. It talks about some of the perks to real estate, depreciating real estate against your earned income, things like that. So it's pretty awesome.
We actually just did an interview with that author. So
Robert Kiyosaki?
No, the guy who wrote that one, which is Garrett Sutton. I think.
Yeah.
But we just did an interview with him, so
that's cool.
Good recommendation.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
So we probably got time for 2 more questions left, maybe.
I mean, I think we could put 3 in. But we got Stephen Pratt on here.
Hey, Stephen. Still muted, no video, just in case you're talking into the abyss at the moment. Looking forward to your question.
I hope my audio is okay.
Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm
Oh,
so
there it
sorry.
is.
My hands are super tied.
You're good. Hey, what's
Super
up?
sorry. I got like the kids and everything.
I love it, man.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so my question was pretty much the intros because I'm a realtor, right? And I've been doing real estate for about 5 years. And this is what I do. I'm good with the listing side, but for some reason with the wholesaling, I'm getting into the driving for dollars. I've been using DealMachine for about 2 years now. And what's the intro pretty much to get these people to just, open up to you instead of just banging the phone on you? I call for a service instead of just saying, hey, I'm looking to put an offer on your property. I call them to pretty much call if they need any real estate services like construction, moving, or even a cash offer, and then give them an option from there. So I feel like if the reason why I'm probably not getting the deals is because I'm saying the wrong thing, and I just want to know what's the best intro for that.
So if you watch the 40-day challenge, you'll see a whole lot of cold calling and exactly how I navigate the conversations. I think I can't remember what day it was. I think it was like 13, but I was on this phone with this crazy guy. He's hilarious. Funniest cold call I've had in a long time. But the intro that I have is I don't go directly at them. Like I know who they are and I know that they own the house, because you want to come at it as if like, hey, I might have the wrong number because their guard's not up. It doesn't sound like selling anything. So I always go, hey, I actually may have the wrong number. I'm trying to find the owner of XYZ address.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, are you Steve? They're like, yeah, what do you want?
That's how I pretty much call. And I hired 2 virtual assistants that pretty much help me with the process of making calls and everything. And it's just, we're having trouble making the appointments. But with DealMachine, like I call them and I get a better response on DealMachine than I were to when I'm cold calling or something.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and part of it is, I don't know what list you were calling before. If it was from Driving for Dollars, probably not where they list you were buying.
Mm-hmm. Some is just mixed, like Drive for Dollars, tax liens, properties with tax liens as well. And just public records too.
Okay. So a lot of those lists that you're picking up, that you're buying, like they're generic lists, right? The FSBOs, the tax delinquents, all those things, like that's what everyone's calling. So they've gotten a gazillion calls. So they're not going to be very nice, right? But the Driving for Dollars is a better list for that purpose. They're not getting a gazillion calls, but your intro makes a huge difference, right? So I learned how to cold call from Brent Daniels, lovely guy, TTP family in here.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. I watch him. He's awesome.
Right. And I've tweaked his script a little bit. So my intro is different for the purpose that you noticed, right? You have people already on the defensive. That's why I say I may have the wrong number, because if you do get the right address, they're like, what's this about? Is everything okay? Did my house burn down? They're already open to talk to you. I'll be like, no, everything's fine. It's just, I know it's out of the blue. I was just wondering if you thought of selling or if you'd consider an offer on the house.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And
that
if they
sounds a lot
say,
better.
and then they're going to, so let's role play it, right? You be the seller. I'll be the buyer. You're going to role play it. We'll do it.
That sounds good.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hi,
how's it going? I may actually have the wrong number. Are you the owner of 123 Elm Street?
Who's this?
Yeah, my name's Zack. I know it's a little out of the blue. And like I said, I may have the wrong number. I was just wondering if you thought of selling that property if you consider an offer on it. Are you the owner?
Yes, but I'm not considering selling anything.
Okay. Yeah, no pressure. So you don't have any interest in selling? You think you would in the next 6 months to a year? Do you want to hold it long term?
Well, listen, this property's been in my family for so long. What's your offer?
Oh, it doesn't sound like you want to sell. No pressure at all. You have a wonderful day. Click. That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So I had students come out to work with me, and I'm just blowing through phone numbers just like that. and I'm hanging up on people when they give me sob stories. I'm just going, right? And the thing is, you got to get the right person on the phone. That's the key, right?
Okay, so
It's
pretty
not
much
about, because like if someone wants to sell, they want to sell, right? Because like sometimes they'll be like, I've thought about it, or if I say, hey, have you thought of selling? Would you consider an offer? And they're like, not at this time. When I hear that hesitation, I call them out on it. I say, I heard some hesitation. I assume you want to sell it in the next 6 months to a year. And they're going to be like, well, yeah, the problem is I got tenants, I got to evict them, and it's like, boom, there's a deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But when they're not interested at all, oh, well, if the price is right, well, everything's for sale at the right price. Well, I'm not going to be your highest offer. I'll tell them, I'll say, listen, well, if you're trying to get as much as possible, you should probably just list it with an agent. I'm trying to buy something that I can add value and fix it up and maybe sell it for a profit. But it doesn't really sound but it doesn't really sound like you're wanting to sell, right? I'm always giving them an option and pulling back, giving them an option, pulling back. And if they don't chase me, they're not interested.
They're not interested.
Right? Because if I go, if they give me the answer, the classic response, well, everything's for sale at the right price. I say, well, fantastic. I would be happy to make you an offer. I may not be your highest offer though. If you do want to squeeze as much out of it as you can, you might as well fix it up as in the nicest condition that it can be, and then list it with an agent. I can have you done quickly and buy it as is, a cash offer. I mean, would you want to sell it for as much as possible, or what would you want to do? Right?
Find motivation and everything.
They're like, yeah, I'm probably not interested. Okay, have a good day. Right? Because the funny thing is, I've had people say, the crazy thing in this market, everything's inflated so much. They tell me a number and it's actually a pretty good number. And I'm like, well, are you saying if I could pay all cash, would you come down a little bit from that, or where would you be? And it's like, okay, well, I can come out and meet with you, and they're like, well, I don't want to sell it. They're like, I can give a high enough number. They're thinking, they're just tire kickers. Right. So,
have you ever done a deal in the New York, or dealt with the New York City client? Because I'm in New York City,
okay. So they're not afraid of the F word, right? Like they're
oh man, that's their favorite word.
you have so I have a student in New Jersey, and I have some students over there that have similar cultural things, and it's a little different, but people in that area, they appreciate the authenticity and straight to the point, like I do it, right? So it can still be done. 100% it can still be done. But you got to have thick skin, right? Tom Cole, one of my mentors, talks about, his book, Rhinoceros Success. And he talks about how important it is to be a rhino, thick skin and charging and, not letting things bother you, not being a cow.
That's the New York attitude right there.
Right?
Yeah. All right. I like that. All right. So I'll definitely use that as some great advice.
The other thing that I want to give you some advice on, brother, that I heard you say is you're having VAs call for you. I've paid over 500 hours to outsourcing my cold calling to native English speakers that were outside my office. I never got a deal. It can be done. It can be done in lower end markets, your Midwest, but your higher inflated markets where your your median house price is over 250, over 300. It's really hard to have outside the office cold callers. I have all my cold callers in office because I train them like a sales team. We do weekly trainings. We listen in on their calls. We teach them how to hear hesitation and to jump on that, right?
And you're right there with them, so you can teach them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So I don't have VAs for that purpose.
Awesome.
Okay.
Great.
That's actually a great idea.
Great.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it big time. I wasn't expecting it big time. Caught me off guard.
This just throws them on there, and then all of a sudden they're live in front of a few hundred people.
Caught me off guard. I just heard my name in the AirPod. Next thing I'm here. Hey. All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one, Steven. Love that role play too, there, guys. Like that, the improv there, and the ability to just show what it's like when you're actually in the conversation.
I saw Lisa's face when I was like, click. She's like, you hung up on him.
Just like, wait a minute, I've done cold calling. I was never taught that, but I was like, oh, it's kind of like a relationship where like you always want what you don't have. And you're like, pull back. Oh, do they want more? Do they not? And then it's like,
That's a dance. That's how I negotiate too. And I learned this doing door-to-door sales for window cleaning. So I didn't make a lot of money. The bigger my business got, the more money, or the less money I put in my pocket, right? Profits first, like Josh talks about. I wish I'd read that book decades ago. But I did a ton of door-to-door sales. The year I sold that company, we had done just shy of $500,000 in gross sales. Obviously, I didn't put that much of my money, but that is a lot of window cleaning, okay? Cleaning a lot of windows. And I built that business up about probably 70% of all of those deals, because we had quarterly contracts, all of them from my door-to-door sales. I did door-to-door sales every evening for about a decade. It was horrible. I worked all the time and never stopped working. And I got really good at door-to-door sales. And I learned that nobody cares about you. They don't care what company you're with. They want to know why the hell you're calling them, why you're talking to them. That's all they want to know. So my pitch was, hey, I'm out doing bids for window cleaning. Do you want to bid for window cleaning? That was my pitch. And I would get 3 answers. I'd get no, go away. And I'd say, do you want a postcard? And they'd say no, and I would run. I would just turn around and run. I'm sure they were like, what the hell? Because I knew the faster I could get to the next door, it would be the next sale, right? And if they said yes, I'd be like, okay, super quick, I'll run around the outside of the house and give you a bid. If they told me, and then the third answer I got was, and I knew in their heads, they're thinking, I kind of do, but how expensive is it? Does this random dude have to come inside my house? How long is this going to take? I got to go pick up my kids. So if I didn't cut them off immediately and say it's super fast, all I got to do is run around the outside of the house, max 2 minutes, and I'll give you a price, write it down on this paper. And they say, okay, go ahead. So I knew for a fact if I cut off the hesitation, I would get the bid. 100% of the time, if I didn't cut off the hesitation, they would say no. And so I learned how to read people's expressions. And it's the same thing with cold calling, right? With wholesaling. It's, do you want to sell your house? Yes or no? You're going to get, yes, I do. You're going to get no, and you're going to get hesitation, right? Or you're going to get the tire kickers, or everything's for sale at the right price, right? And you kind of got to dig into that real quick. And as soon as I identify it's tire kicker, not interested, click next, right? If someone, like, I have people that'll, like, on the challenge, they text me back or call me back and leave me nasty voicemails. I can't believe you hung up on me, because they were chewing me out, for calling them. So I just hung up, and then they wanted to call me back and chew me out, And so you got to have thick skin. You got to just push forward and find the people that you can serve. And so the more time you spend on the phone with people that have zero interest in selling their house, the less time you're going to, spend with the people that you do need your help.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We're finding the people that we can help. We're not trying to convince someone to sell. That's I think, honestly, the biggest thing in the end, for sure. Well, Zach, we appreciate your time, and we're out of time for the Q&A portion here. Give everybody like all the information, like how they find you, how they can follow you, how you can help them. Like, I saw some people say, like, I need a mentor, I need to figure this out. Like, awesome, you got someone in the room that can help you directly. So Zach, give everyone the info they need to have to get a hold of you and figure out if there's something there.
100%. I would love to coach anybody that wants help, right? So it's very simple. Just book a call with us. So we'll get on the phone. We'll talk about my program, how we help you, how it's structured. I love my students. I know who my students are. When Tyler jumped on, I knew immediately it was a student. I have a picture of every single one of my students on my office wall. And I do that to remind me who I'm accountable to, who I've committed and promised to help. And so anyways, if you want to know more about the program and working with me, just go to my website. It's dfdmastery.com. So DFD for driving for dollars, right? dfdmastery.com. And click on book a call, schedule a time. You'll fill out a little form that gives us a little information, so we're a little more prepared to help you on those calls and know what your goals are. And then schedule a time to speak with us, and we'd be happy to help you and talk to you. Let us know that you've heard about us from DealMachine. That would be great. And to follow me on social media, I'm trying to be everywhere. And so the best way to find my social media info is on that same website. There's a link that says social media. And you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and podcast is being launched April 12th. Super excited. That's going to be uploaded as well. We've got 12 episodes recorded. We're so excited. I've been having a blast interviewing people. I love people, if you can't tell. And so the podcast has just been so fun. Pretty excited about that. So
awesome. Again, thank you so much for your time, Zach. I appreciate it. We're going to switch over to do a demo that Elise is going to head up, so that we can just show you guys how DealMachine works. A lot of you are already familiar with it. Ask questions throughout. Will be as helpful as we can, and just make sure you step away from this knowing how to help, how we can.
Someone's asked for my email. Just if you guys want to talk to me, I'll talk to you. Just shoot me a private message on either Instagram or a private message through Facebook Messenger. That's the best way to reach me. You should see my email. Like I go through and it's like, that's probably important. That's probably important. That's probably important. And it archives the rest. I just don't have time to get to all my emails. I've given up. So if you want to get a hold of me, that's the best way. Okay.
I like it.
That or booking a call with us. And I'm in the office. I hear the conversations. Every once in a while I surprise people and jump on the calls. And sometimes I take calls if my team's too busy. So yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Zach.
Of course. Thank you guys. You're awesome. Appreciate you. Appreciate DealMachine. You guys made me a ton of money. I love it.
Oh, well, I'm excited for your podcast. So please keep us updated when that launches.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I'm excited, man. We've had some fun guests, but like I said this morning, I interviewed Jerry and his wife that I met on day 4 of the challenge, and it was an amazing experience. If you guys seen day 4 of the challenge, you know what I'm talking about. It was, I mean, I was sobbing because I had built this beautiful relationship with them and heard Jerry's stories of how he'd willed and dealed and assumed mortgages and like done all this cool stuff, you know, that I'm doing. And when he walked out to get copies of the contracts, his wife told me he was dying of cancer.
Oh.
And I just started sobbing. I didn't know that. And it made sense why they wanted to get rid of those properties that are far away. And you'll love Jerry. I'm excited for that episode to come out. But they didn't want to be on camera, so I didn't get to show them on the day 4. But they were willing to do the podcast interview. So I interviewed them, heard some of their stories, how they got, became so successful in real estate, and they're cute. They're really fun people. So
that's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Okay, thanks guys.
Thank
Thank you everyone for hearing me out and letting me serve you and help you. And I guess you guys have more content to share with them. So awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna log in here real quick.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna bounce then. You don't need me, right?
No, you're good to go. Yeah.
Enjoy your evening.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everybody.
Bye, Zach.
Bye.
Okay, I'm logging in here. Oh my gosh, what a great webinar.
Zach's great. I've loved watching Zack grow, and I mean their wholesale business is like quadrupled in the time they've worked with us, and his coaching business has gone through the roof as well. So highly recommend him. Great guy, as you can tell.
Yes. All right, guys, we're gonna kind of go through this really quick. Zach talked about TTP. I've had this since the beginning. I've never changed it. So, but you guys should look up Brent Daniels. He's also a good one too. But we have the dashboard here. So I have the enterprise, enterprise dashboard right here. And so what this is where I can set up, my goals. It's going to look different for the other plans. We have some great success stories over here. This is the Cody Sperber, which is the clever investor. This is a great interview. I know I'm kind of biased, but then we have our next webinar always up here. So as you can see, we already have for the next one, it's April 15th with Brian and Michelle Austin. They are enterprise members with us. They did 30K in their first 2 months with us and now have done over 100K. So super excited for you guys to meet them. They're a beautiful couple. He's what?
I just want to jump. They're actually like an hour and a half away from me in North Carolina. And they were like literally zero experience in real estate when they started with us. They jumped into enterprise right away, went driving, got deal finders on there, motivated, and have just killed it ever since. But it's almost probably give or take a year from now that they've been doing it.
Yeah, they're amazing. So definitely sign up for that, guys. And also here's going to be where your analytics are. So you can see that I have not been super active recently. I'm usually am, but it's been crazy busy. Super happy about that though. Because I get to talk to more of you. So you can see here where you have pending approval, which means that you have marketing that needs to go out, needs to be approved. Then you have your total investment. You have profit tracking, you have mailers sent, and then you also have the leads added. So I've added 15 since March 4th. So this is a great way to track all of that. You can filter this through your drivers and your other partners, as well as giving it a custom time period. So you can check it week by week. All right, we're in the map.
Mapping it up.
Mapping it up. Okay, sorry guys, I'm gonna move this around. So we actually can click on a property. Now, the reason why they're all green is because I've added a lot of them through testing the app and also pulling lists and everything like that for testing. So that means that they're added. When they're not added, they're actually little black dots on there and you tap on them. And then what you're going to do is press add property. Or if you do tap to add mode, which is and actually Zack was one of the ones that got us to do tap to add mode, which he is the one. Is he the one?
Zack was like, I need a faster way to add properties because again, as you guys know, like Zack's strategy is, hey, any sign of distress, physical condition of the property that's not being kept up, I want to add it. And he wanted to rapidly add those properties. Before that, you had to there was like a 2 or 3 button click process, and it was designed to include the photo of the property. So Zack was like, I need to go faster. I want to add 100 in an hour. Like, okay, like let's make tap to add mode. And so now you'll see at the top left, pin mode and tap to add mode. Tap to add mode means you tap a property and it gets added instantaneously and you move to the next one. So for those focusing on cold calling, SMS marketing, and you don't need that photo of the property to use on direct mail, tap to add mode is really good for accelerating that driving process. And again, Zack, prime example, someone who does it that way. For those that use our direct mail, typically they'll still get original photos of the properties, but really cool innovation. Ironic, honestly, talking about it because it's Zack's really recommendation.
Yeah, and so when you pull it up, you can skip trace right there. We've actually really enhanced our skip tracing. So super excited about that. It'll show you how many lines you get, emails, and then down here you have messages, activity, which shows you everything that's been happening with this lead. You can type a note to anybody. You can see a detailed view of, I updated this lead's photo because I have what we call street pick, which takes the Google pick and puts it in there if I don't add a picture in there. We have messages. So this is our SMS marketing platform. Joy's been posting the links to our trainings. If you are interested in that, you definitely can go ahead and go on one of the trainings to see if it's the right fit for you. And then super exciting, we get the comps feature, which just launched a couple weeks ago. And this is going to pull in a certain area. As you can see, it says 3 miles here, but I can change this to 5 miles. And it will pull anything that is of similar size, like square footage, has similar characteristics, and you can pull it through a certain date. So here's 16 comparable properties within 3 miles. I can go through here and look them all up. I just love that. And it's right here. It's all right here. So this is a add-on. Comps is an add-on, just like, you know, what else is an add-on? Street Pick is an add-on. So those are all $20 extra a month. And then you can also preview your mail here. So this is the blocks template, if anyone's wondering. I actually made a QR code with their logo in it for someone, and I apparently didn't switch it out yet. So yeah, you can put your logo, a picture of you, your dog, your family, definitely something you can do. And then when we're actually talking about the map, these lines is the route planner. So route planner, it's route tracker. We have route planner. Route tracker is for professional plan and enterprise plan, where you can track where you and your team have driven. You can go way far out. And as you can see, the yellow and red lines, so red is over a year, and this yellow line is 6 months to a year, and then the green line is 0 to 6. And then highlights. This is really awesome, you guys. You can go in and you can just do really quick lists, which that's only meaning you click one of these. So I can see all my vacant properties. So I just apply that preset or apply that. So there's all the vacant properties. Now you may ask, how do we know they're vacant? USPS will report that it's a vacant property just by seeing if the mailbox is getting full, and they can tell it's vacant. So that's how we get that. You can also go with custom filters, which is literally everything and anything under the sun. I feel like I don't want to go too much into it. If you are wanting to know more about that, we definitely can go into it more, but you can do this by bedrooms, baths. I was just talking to someone today about going off of, last night on Clubhouse, talking to someone going off of what their buyers want. So he types in here, the unit count, because certain buyers go off of, how many units they want. So that's how he finds places. And then planned routes, which I can't show you on here because it's only on mobile, but you would press start driving. And then what you would do is do the same thing that you just saw with the highlights, where I could build a list basically to drive and look at all these highlighted properties. It would take me to all of these in a very precise way to save me time. And then I can see if there's further distress in those. It's really helpful instead of being like, oh, I guess I should just go up here and then maybe go this way. And then, but I missed these properties over here. You can just go into plan routes and you can go ahead and plan it off of what you're looking for. That was also on professional and enterprise plans. So now we go down to leads. So leads has a lot of the same things that the maps does when you open up a lead. So I'm just going to talk about the functionality of this. This is where you can organize your leads. You can start mailers, skip trace, all those good things. So you can do bulk editing on here where you can click, select all, which I have 20,000. That's going to be a lot. So I'm going to just select the first 25. You can start mailers. You can send a text message. You can change a status, which that means like, called back, follow up, appointment set, so on and so forth. That is what changing status is. Add to a list. This is a way that you can organize your leads into, maybe if you're in different markets, you can say, this is I have my Indianapolis absentee owner list. And then I have other ones for the other markets that I've driven in. And then you can skip trace in bulk, you can export, you can change mailing options if you have different postcards going out to owner occupied, absentee, corporate owned, or export leads. I said that already. Also, if you're starting with us, and I think I saw someone say this, but you can import a list in here as well. If you already have a list of leads that you've worked hard for, you can go ahead and import that list in here. So that way you can make sure that you're not doubling up on things that you've already added. Okay, I think I went, and like I said, the lead, inside the lead looks exactly the same. So you can go in there. Driving tab. So this is where you track how many miles driven. This is super important, especially for when it comes tax season. So you can definitely write those off. And you can see what routes you've taken and where, the little like there. Okay, I drove 10 minutes on March 11th. I didn't add any leads, but this is where I drove. And you can do this for your drivers. This is a great way to go ahead and filter through for drivers. So David sits down with his drivers once a week and they look through how many miles they drove, but he looks at how much time they've driven as well, because they're supposed to be doing 40 hours a week. So he goes in here and he's like, okay, you hit 39 or something like that. I'm only going to pay you for 39. So things like that. And then the driver's page, this is super awesome. This is where your entire team, like deal finders and drivers, I'm on the enterprise plan. That's why I have so many, but you can recruit drivers with our enterprise plan. And what that means is, and you can recruit drivers on, sorry, someone is messaging me right now. You can go ahead and recruit drivers on our basic and professional. It's 1 driver on basic, 2 on professional, and then up from there, you can go ahead and do more on enterprise. And this is the training portal that you can send them to. So you can go ahead and enable these videos. You can put your own in here. We go through like paying hourly, you know, what distress level you're looking for. And this is all what they have to go through before they actually start driving. And then you also get a welcome email that is custom to what you would like to send them right after they're done signing up. So that way you can automate that process. You don't have to take your time. You can save it and have them fully onboarded and going like that. Okay, really quickly, we're going into mailers. We changed this up. If you have been with us, these have changed up if you haven't noticed. So signatures are where your return address is going to go and your phone number. Then we're going to go to templates. Templates, we have 10 of them. You can choose from. I showed you one, but you can go ahead and go in here and change the wording, the colors. You can change if you don't want the property image, you can change that picture. And then we also have a ballpoint letter, which it is written with an actual ballpoint pen by a machine. It looks really cool. Definitely, I would mail yourself one with the free deal credits you get in the beginning just to see what it looks like, because it's pretty cool. And then we have campaigns, which is an add-on, and it's $20 extra a month. But the cool thing is that you can have as many campaigns like you see right here, absentee corporate owned. You can have step one being one postcard. Then step two, it can go out, you know, a certain number of days and it can be a different postcard. So that way you keep rotating through different ones. They don't say, oh, I've seen this before, I'm just going to throw it away. You can hit them with different aspects. Like in this one, I have like a tired landlord one. My last one is one that actually Josh wrote for our enterprise members. And it's, hey, it's like, it's me again. I've been mailing you for a while. Listen, I don't want to waste your time, you know, yada, yada. But I do send that like twice at the end, just in case they didn't read it the first time. You never know. But you can just go ahead and switch those up. You can clone a campaign. I've done that because some of them are, I like how the steps are spaced out, and I just go in and switch out the templates. And the last part of mailers is the calendar feature, which this tells you when mail's going out. I do not have any mail going out currently. I did. Let me see when I did. Okay, here. March, I had 6 mailers scheduled. Then on the 20th, I had 15, and it gives me the estimated price for those scheduled mailers. And then I can see all the properties that they sent to. I can see more info of like when it hit, you know, how many times have I hit this property, so on and so forth. So really great tool to especially make sure that you're staying within your budget for your marketing. Then we go on to lists. So this is our list builder. This is also where you can keep, and it will keep all of your lists from when you bulk skip traced. Like I said, down here, I have a ton of lists because I've done messaging. So I have like bulk import, I have my list pulling, and then I also have like my India absentee. All of them are here. And then to build a list, you go in here, type in a zip code, draw over an area. So I can just go, down. And then I can just do vacant. It'll give me an estimation. There are 60 leads estimated to be pulled from this. And then smart lists, which smart lists is every Monday we update our data. And so anything that doesn't match this criteria and in this specific area that's not vacant anymore will be pulled out. Now, anything that's new and has been marked vacant will be pulled into this list automatically. So highly recommend turning on smart lists. Messages. So this is message engine. You may have known it, but it's actually SMS marketing. So you can go in here, check your delivery status. These are all of my open conversations. I actually should probably close some of these. But you have phone numbers here. So you get a block of 30 phone numbers. You can manage your saved replies, which we recommend having 9 sent out. We mix them up. It's a lot of stuff. I'm not going to lie, guys. So I would definitely sign up for a training if you're interested in SMS marketing, because it is just a lot. And I know I'm already giving you a lot, so I just don't really want to overwhelm you if I have already. More. So you have your team. This is where you add team members on, you give them different roles. So the deal finder is just driving, and that's just on driving for dollars. You have partner, which you can see here, I've allowed him to do certain things, but I don't allow him to do other things. So I don't like him spending my money on approved mail. I actually really would prefer not skip tracing. And you can't send a message, edit templates, all that good stuff. And then you can also change their access. So he does not have access to my SMS marketing. So if I did want to give him access, I could say grant access. That will take one of my seats, which is unlimited on the SMS marketing. But as you can see, you have 30 for the driving for dollars and list builder. And then you have get free leads. Y'all, this is your own personal promo code. Use it. When you have friends and you're like, you guys should sign up for DealMachine, give them this promo code. You get $5, they get $5, win-win. And then settings. So I'm going to go over this really high level for you guys, but this is where you change out your phone number, email address. The phone number and email address, if you change it here, will not reflect on your mail marketing. You have to go into signatures. Engines and add-ons, this is where you're going to see campaign, street pick. We have mail tracking, which will show you literally right to when it's in the area about to be delivered. I highly recommend this. Also, it will mark it if it's returned. It will turn that as a returned mailer in our system so that you stop marketing to them. And then comps. So these are all $20. All of our add-ons are $20 extra a month. And then it has all of my plans here that I have access to. So default mailing options is just what it sounds like. So this is what you have as your default for any property. Now you can change this if you have more than one campaign that you want to set it on, but this is like your main one that you want to like, so you don't have to go one by one and keep changing it. Property tags, we didn't get to really talk about these, but this is what you can label things as you're driving around in your deal finders as well. So saying that there's tall grass, stuffed mailbox. I recommend, well, what I would do is I would hide like most of these, except for maybe my top like 4. So that way they really just hone in on those properties that I want and what I'm looking for. And then badges, I don't know if anyone's seen these, but they're pretty sweet. You get them when you reach certain goals here. We want to make sure that you know that we're here to motivate and celebrate with you guys when you hit these goals. Stop sending stops all your mailers from sending. Automatic sending mailers, I would avoid doing this only because if you accidentally say add a property, it is going to send a mailer out and you don't want that. Dark mode, love dark mode. Right now, love dark mode. Look at this. It's like I just lost a ring light. And then street pick enablement. When you have street pick, you can turn this on and you will get the street pick automatically uploaded if it recognizes that there's not a picture actually in there. And then I would say one of my favorite things to do is in here, change open page on app start, which that means whatever page you want to be open when you open the app, this is where you go to. So I personally like the map because if I see a house while I'm just willy-nilly driving, I want it to open to the map so I can pin it really fast. So that's my personal preference. You can definitely change it to your leads, lists, your messages, whatever floats your boat. And now that I'm fully out of breath, that is our demo. What questions, what things can I show people?
I've been answering a few questions in the chat along with Joy. So appreciate all the questions. Any other questions, obviously continue to rely on me and Elise. We're here to help.
Here to help. Let me show JT.
Yeah, so Nadeem, go ahead and ask your question. Yeah. JT, with mailers, how can you keep track of contacts made? I'm assuming if you mean if people call back, which I know Elise is pulling up here, the lead status would be the way to keep track of that along with the notes on each property.
So you can change it to any of these.
So if you set an appointment, if they call in and say, hey, I don't want to be talked to, you say, hey, like not interested, you can keep track of those different statuses for your properties there. We're actually really soon here about to release a task management system and reminders. Probably in the next, I think, 4 to 6 weeks, you'll see the first versions of task released. So if someone calls in and says, hey, I'm not interested, you follow Zack's script and you're like, hey, like, what about in 6 months? And they say, yeah, in 6 months. And then you can set tasks to remind yourself to do that later on, or assign them to a team member to do it for you.
Yes, Clarence, there are. There are definitely plenty of videos on our YouTube channel. I actually have a whole playlist on YouTube just about setting up your marketing with DealMachine. So go check it out. Joy's already got it. She good.
Joel, your advanced program options, if you go to DealMachine.com/pricing, that's the easiest way to see all of the different options that we're talking about. I think that's what you're asking about. In particular, you've got our basic pro and enterprise level packages of either driving for dollars, of our list builder tool, or our SMS marketing product. So that'll be the best spot for kind of the quick overview, and can hopefully frame your best starting point at that point.
Oh, here, Nadim. Also, yeah, the overview training would be really good too. If you would like to see more about like what kind of practices or what plans or what would work best for you.
Yeah.
But Joy put down the pricing link.
Are we doing the overview training tomorrow, Elise, or are we? I know we're taking the day off as a company for the holidays, but
I don't think so. So it'll be on Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
I see a few questions on mailers here. I'm a big fan of ballpoints. When I ran them against the list I had been doing postcard marketing to for a while, I switched to ballpoints. I saw about an 80% higher response rate on some on properties that hadn't yet responded to a postcard. So they cost 3 times the amount, but they do get a better response. And so in reality, like Elise went over earlier, our campaign system allows you to change the different mailers along the way. So testing out a postcard and then a ballpoint pen letter helps you figure out your best odds of getting in contact with people, because people are going to respond to different things. Some people will love the photo of the property on them. Some people will dislike it. And some people will see a really colorful envelope that's the ballpoint pen letter and be super excited about responding. You just don't know that until they respond. And so that's why the campaign system and repetitive marketing is so important. Clarence, we got videos all over YouTube walking you through creating templates. My quick feedback on that is consistency and repetition is what matters when it comes to direct mail marketing. It's not as much about like having the magic copy, the magical, like this is the most unique postcard in existence. It's about that consistency and having a targeted list of like driving for dollars properties, for example, that are readily more likely to sell to an investor.
Also, here's my favorite. I know Josh likes ballpoint, but I love the blocks template. Got me and my doggies.
Blocks template I love too. For postcards, that's my favorite postcard template. I send both. I start my campaigns with a ballpoint pen letter. I send 2 or 3 of the block templates, and I do another ballpoint pen letter. And I do that a total of like I think 9 to 12 times. Elmer, how do you determine what offer to make? Our comps tool does that for you and helps give you the context of what a property is worth. And so it's not 100% that simple. At least if you can pull up a comps of a deal real quick. When you're comping a property, the way you start on the offer front is what is the property worth if it was fixed up and sold in the market. And so the comps tool allows you to see properties that are similar to it nearby and what they've sold for and when they sold. And so that gives you some data to know what the property might be worth. And then you can kind of reverse engineer, hey, like, here's how much work needs to go into the property. It needs $20,000 put here, $40,000 put there. And so you begin to understand how to build an offer that values the property appropriately that you can then sell to an investor.
Dang, prices are high over here.
Joel, I was talking a little fast earlier, so I believe your question was about the plans. DealMachine.com/pricing.
Joy put the link.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm catching up here, guys, so I might be.
I noticed that. Guys, don't you like Josh being on here? I know we missed David.
I fire questions fire answers pretty fast and talk fast, so I apologize if I am going too aggressive here. Nadim, where can we find the graph that shows how many leads we need to get a deal in our market? This graph at the top of the dashboard gives you that initial information. We're looking actually where your geography is when you set your account to then give you an estimate of how many properties we think you need. Some quick hitter information. If you're looking at properties under 50,000, you're probably about 150 to 250 leads per deal. If you're looking for like $100,000 property at 250,000 ARV price points, you're probably about 300 to maybe 500. If you're looking at $700,000, $800,000, $1 million plus homes, like you're going to need 1,000 to 1,500 leads per deal. And this is with repetitive marketing. This is not just you add the leads and then next month the deals have come in. It's a consistent follow-up and marketing campaign, which could be cold calling. It could be cold calling and direct mail. How you choose the medium that you want to focus on is going to really depend on your budget. Zack will preach heavily, like you need to cold call people. It's the cheapest way. Your skip trace costs are cheaper than direct mail, and you can follow up as many times as you want on the phone. Our training that we do that Elise mentioned earlier, the DealMachine overview, can help you assess the DealMachine product, and I think more importantly for you, the marketing channel that you should look at depending on kind of where you're at in your investing situation with the number of deals you're looking for, as well as your budget, where it is today and where you're trying to go with it. Any other good questions in here I should be looking at? I'm trying to get through them all, Elise. Do we want to bring Jonathan on? He's got a question that he wanted to ask verbally. Would love to get, hopefully it's, hopefully we can help you. While we're pulling Jonathan in, if you're still able to join, let me see if I can answer another one. Any idea we're going to find a template for a landing page where we can send the leads we talk to on the phone? OnCarrot is probably going to be your best website choice across the board. I think there's more simple landing pages that you can create with, even like Squarespace can give you a really quick, fast page. It's not got all the bells and whistles of Carrot, which is kind of like, here's a full website that you can run like digital marketing through for lead generation purposes. But Squarespace might be your best initial bet. Really simple website. You can probably have something live in a matter of 30 minutes. That's just a form on a page to say, hey, like, if you're interested, reach out.
All right, I got Jonathan on here.
Jonathan, what's up?
Well, there's two Jonathan Mays on here, so I'm not sure if I grabbed the right one.
I think you did. He's muted right now, no video.
Oh, there we go.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. How y'all doing? So yeah, I was just I guess my question was really around just the I guess any future plans for kind of adding a tier up plan, and then maybe, you know, because I think with the professional you only you have a limited amount of leads you can add to 1,000. I know you can go, the next one you can go up to is that
the enterprise
plan that, yeah, exactly. You know, I just didn't know if that was anything that you guys had thought about.
I do not anticipate us putting an in-between plan there. I think that's I just, it's not a change I expect us to make. If it'll probably stay at that 1,000 lead per month threshold for pro, for driving for dollars in particular. And then enterprise will be, once you want to go over 1,000 a month, it will be that product for you.
Okay, great. And then, and is there any, I guess, back office things that maybe we should be kind of aware of? Sometimes the, like when I'm driving down on the street, sometimes it's not showing that I'm on the actual street that I'm on. Is there anything like maybe updates or anything that are going to be that you know about? Or
yeah, so one, I want to make sure if there's a technical issue, that if you're experiencing something, that you are reaching out to support routinely and giving them bugs and tickets. I'll say this too. I mean, we've invested extremely heavily in our engineering team. We quite literally added 30 people in the last 6 months to the team to help make DealMachine the best product it can be. And in particular, the any sort of bugs, glitches, and kind of small UX improvements has been a massive focus for us in the last few months. And we've seen actually a considerable drop in issues reported just from the last couple months effort in particular. So continue to give us that feedback and let us know when something's going on that we can help with.
okay, all right, that's all I got.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. JT, we try to be available. Can't always be live like this, obviously, with every member, but we try to make ourselves available as much as we can, at least in particulars. Just everywhere all the time, it feels like.
I'm everywhere.
It's a little scary sometimes.
Uh,
Any other questions that were called out that we wanted to get to?
I didn't see any other ones. If we did miss anybody, please feel free to go through the help and support chat. But also feel free to go to, like I said, our YouTube channels, channel. You can also get to that actually through the app now, where you can see instructional videos right when you're going to help. So you can just go straight to there. This will be on our YouTube channel come, I believe,
On Monday, Tuesday?
Monday or Tuesday. So everything that Zack talked about, I have written down all the links and all the things that you can get to contact him with. But we will make sure everything's in there so that you guys can go through everything, the books, all the things that he mentioned. Mom, I answered your question. I put the link to the virtual driving for dollars, the Chrome extension. Thank you guys. So good to see everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. But thank you guys so much for being here. And we are, oh, you're totally fine, Mom. If you need to see more about it, we also have a YouTube video about it. Thank you. You guys have a great night and a happy weekend. And safe driving. And as always, happy deal finding. Trademark.
TM.
All right, Josh.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Goodbye.